The wind had a way of carrying secrets across the wide fields of Wyoming. It howled through the cottonwoods, brushed against the old wooden fences, and pressed itself against the weathered barn that had stood for generations. Inside the small ranch house nearby, a man named John Miller sat quietly by the window, a cup of coffee resting in his hands. John was 40 years old, though his eyes carried the weight of more seasons than most men his age. He had worked the land since he was a boy, rising before dawn to feed the cattle, mend the fences, and ride the pastures. The ranch had been his father's once, and his grandfather's before that. Now it was his alone. But beneath the simple rhythm of his days, John carried something unspoken. He had never married, never taken a woman's hand, never crossed the line between companionship and intimacy. In a town where gossip moved as fast as a prairie fire, folks sometimes whispered about him. Some called him shy, some thought he was just stubborn. But the truth was gentler than all that. John was a virgin at 40. It wasn't because he was ashamed or because he lacked that desire. It was because life had been quiet and lonely, and he had never found someone who looked at him in the way he longed for. Over time, he stopped expecting it. He poured himself into the ranch, the cattle, the soil, and the changing sky. That evening, as the wind pressed harder against the windows, the storm rolled in from the west. Heavy clouds thickened, and thunder shook the distant hills. John stepped out onto the porch, pulling his coat tight. He knew the storm would be bad. Lightning cracked the sky, turning the plains white for a split second before dropping back into darkness. And then through the roar of rain and the creak of the barn doors swinging in the wind, he saw her, a figure on the road, a woman, drenched from head to toe, struggling against the storm as if the sky itself was trying to push her back. She carried a bag on her shoulder and clutched it close to her chest. John's heart thudded. He hurried toward her, the rain soaking through his hat and shirt. "Ma'am," he called over the storm, "you'll catch your death out here." She looked up, her face pale beneath the sheets of water. "I just need shelter," she shouted. "Please, just a place to stay the night." John didn't hesitate. He reached for her arm, guiding her through the storm. Instead of leading her into his house, something in her eyes, something weary but guarded, made him turn toward the barn. It was safer there, warmer than the open road, and he thought she might feel more at ease with distance between them. He pulled the heavy barn doors shut behind them. The storm outside raged, but inside there was only the smell of hay, the soft snorting of horses, and the muffled drum of rain on the roof. "You can stay here," John said, setting down her bag gently. "There's fresh hay in the loft. Dry blankets, too?" "It ain't much, but it's safe." The woman's eyes softened with gratitude. She pushed wet strands of hair from her face and whispered, "Thank you. My name's Emily." John nodded. "I'm John Miller." For a moment, silence filled the barn. Only the animals stirred. John fetched a lantern, lit it, and set it on a barrel. The glow painted Emily's face in warm light. She looked exhausted, yet there was something strong about her, like she'd walked through more than just rain to get here. John gave her the blankets, his voice low and careful. "You can take the loft. I'll keep watch down here." Emily hesitated, her eyes studying him. "You're kind," she said. Most men wouldn't be so quick to trust a stranger." John gave a faint smile. "I reckon the world's hard enough without folks turning each other away." The hours passed slowly. Rain hammered the roof, and thunder rolled like drums over the prairie. John leaned against the stall, half asleep, until he heard her voice above the storm. "John?" she called softly from the loft. He looked up. "Yes, ma'am?" Asterisk, you're different, she said. I can tell. You're gentle. Asterisk, her words caught him off guard. No one had ever called him that before. Strong, hard-working, reliable, yes, but gentle? That was something else. Something he didn't know he carried. Asterisk, he answered carefully. Maybe gentle's just another word for lonely. Asterisk, the silence after that was heavier than the storm. Emily's eyes lingered on him, and for the first time in many years, John felt the quiet stirring of hope in his chest. Asterisk, when the storm finally began to ease, Emily climbed down from the loft, the blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She moved closer to him, her footsteps soft in the hay. Asterisk, you've been alone a long time, haven't you? She asked. Asterisk, John nodded. All my life, it seems. Asterisk, Emily reached out, her hand brushing against his. He froze, the warmth of her touch startling after so many years of distance. She looked into his eyes, searching, as if trying to see the man behind the silence. Asterisk, sometimes, she said gently, all it takes is one night to change everything. Asterisk, John's heart raced, not from fear but from something he had buried. Deep, he wanted to pull back, to retreat into the safety of solitude, but her presence held him there. For the first time, someone saw him not as the quiet rancher, not as the man who never married, but simply as a human being who longed to be known. Asterisk, the storm outside faded to a quiet drizzle, the lantern flickering as if it too had softened. John and Emily stood close, their breaths mingling in the cool barn air. He didn't move fast, he didn't need to. Slowly, gently, he let himself lean into the moment, into the touch of another soul who had found him when the storm was at its worst. Asterisk, that night, John crossed the threshold of his loneliness. Not in haste, not in fear, but in tenderness. The barn became more than shelter. It became a place where two weary hearts met and warmed each other against the storm. Asterisk, when dawn broke, the sky was clear and the plains glistened with the fresh glow of rain. Emily stood at the barn door, her bag slung over her shoulder. She turned to him, her eyes softer now, her smile faint but real. Asterisk, I don't know where my road leads, she said, but I'll remember this place, and I'll remember you, John Miller. Asterisk, John swallowed hard, his voice rough. And I'll remember you, Emily, always. Asterisk, she stepped closer, pressing a gentle kiss against his cheek. Then she walked down the muddy road, the rising sun painting the horizon in gold. Asterisk, John watched her go, his chest heavy and full all at once. He knew. She might never return, but something inside him had shifted. The silence of his life was no longer empty. It was filled with the memory of a night when the storm brought him what he had been missing all his years. Asterisk, he turned back toward the barn, the smell of rain still fresh in the air. For the first time in a long while, he felt ready for whatever the next season might bring. Asterisk, because sometimes even a storm can carry a blessing.